Hey there, it's Jumper555 and welcome to my review of Star Trek Lower Deck Season 3 Episode 5 Reflections. So, this is probably the most Rutherford heavy story that we've gotten so far in all of Lower Decks. We get insight not only to his current character, but also his past. Still a lot of mystery is involved in that, but there is a lot of stuff. Now that the pack lads, the story with them is pretty much over, it very much seems like they're setting up why Rutherford has his implant. Seems to be kind of the new thing. Like, that's just what we're going to keep in the background to make sure there's always something going on that we can work towards. And it's very interesting. He literally does challenge himself in this episode. Like, it is kind of crazy, but before I talk about that, let's actually talk about what Milner and Boimler are doing. Basically, they're basically the kind of people, they're doing the career day. They're setting up a Starfleet booth to encourage people to sign up. And it is hilarious because it does not go the way you would expect. Like, let's be real, you would expect at the end it would be Boimler who keeps his cool and Milner who loses it. No, it's the other way around, which is so great. One, it's showing that Milner is developing as a character, but also Boimler too. Milner is learning to be more patient, be more calm, while Boimler is learning, that sometimes, he does need to lash out. But of course, he does have to get in trouble because of how he lashed out. But because it was, basically someone was making fun of Starfleet uniforms and took his rank pip off. So obviously, Boimler doesn't tolerate that very well. But I'm pretty impressed that Milner keeps so cool in this. But also, she had motivation to do so because Ramson threatened to transfer to Starbase AD if basically she screws up. And then at the end, Boimler was asking myself, "You gonna transfer me to Starbase AD?" And he's like, and Rand's, no way. No, probably he would have even done that with Milner, but he knew that threat Milner would take seriously. But and then probably the best part of it is like, yeah, you'll have to spend time in the break, but by the way, after you're out, you got to talk about all this happened because you stood up for Starfleet. Like, this guy, like, how you did it was on, but we are definitely talking about it for fun afterwards. This is just a great little piece of character development for all of them, showing that these are people who work together. Sure, they have to follow certain rules, but they still will acknowledge, like, yeah, you broke the rule, but why you did it was good. We just still have to punish you for breaking the rule. And I just love that dynamic that's being created. Also, with Milner and all this, she's learning a little more about patience, but also doing all this, one of the people who's basically making fun of Starfleet doing all of this, is an independent archaeologist. I wonder why. And a bunch of things are really, like, she basically stole a great Enega scepter from a museum. How that museum got it, I don't know, but apparently the Ferengi had a bounty on it for returning. So there's that. Um, but the one thing is interesting. She does call Milner at the end. How she got Milner's contact, I don't know. Maybe looked it up. Who knows how things work communication-wise in Starfleet and the Federation? Who knows? But one thing is interesting. Milner does save her as a contact on her pad, which means basically one or two things. One, she's just keeping a secondary option in her bag, for lack of a better expression, for in case she does get drummed out to Starfleet. Or she does see some appearing. Maybe Starfleet isn't for her. So, because the independent archaeologist does kind of put an offer out. Hey, why don't you skip Starfleet and just do stuff on your own? So you could see how that's something appealing to Milner. And I'm feeling this is going to come back into be some conflict later on in either this season or maybe even the next season. But it's interesting how they did that, but how it can go both different ways. And that is what's very exciting about that. But now we really need to talk about Rutherford's story. Basically, he's been having nightmares. And Tindy checks in, there's basically some memories in a buffer and so she purges them. Well, what happens is a old repressed personality of his comes to the forefront, which is totally different than his own. basically his personality from when he was in the academy. And he literally, in his own mindscape, challenges himself to a race. Of course, the Rutherford we know is the one who wins, basically, because in his mindscape, he brings his friends in. Not really, of course, because they're doing their own things, but brings their friends in order to, essentially win and also do the right thing. Which actually gets his own personality like, you know what? You deserve it. I'm too injured. You deserve it. I'm not going to talk too much about a lot of that, but one thing is Tindy's the first one to realize something was up. But that was also partially because Rutherford was actively trying, the Rutherford we are familiar with, was actively trying to make it known that something was not right. So, and she picked up on that by sort of behavior stuff like his, one thing was his, his implant glitching out was just one of the many things. But that was, I think, the main thing, because that's something like doesn't really doesn't hasn't been happening. Happened earlier on in season one, which is actually kind of interesting. But it's very much interesting in how other characters are picking up something's not exactly right. And of course, Dr. John's the one who realized, yeah, there's two personalities trying to come to the forefront when only one personality will come out of the coma, and we gotta wait and see where that's going to be. And that's when we see Rutherford challenging himself to a race to figure out which one of the personalities gets to be the one that comes out of the coma. And they can't stay in the coma too long, so there's also a time limit involved. It's just hilarious how they did that, but it's also very tragic at the same time because there's a whole part of Rutherford's life he knows nothing about. There was an accident and then some kind of Starfleet cover up. So are we going to be getting an evil admiral in Lower Decks? I mean, I can't wait to see Lower Decks' take on that Star Trek trope. Star Trek trope. So I can't wait to see that because it looks like they are going to be taking that on. And who knows, they might actually be able to find some unique commentary on that. That, of course, has to wait and see. But that concludes my review of Star Trek Lower Decks Reflections. I hope you enjoyed my review. If you did, be sure to like, share, comment, upvote, and subscribe. And let me know in the comment section down below, what did you think of this episode? I would love to hear from you. So thank you for watching. If you haven't done so already, feel free to like, upvote, share, subscribe, follow, heart. You know the drill. Check out the links down below. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. Have a good one. Bye! So thank you for watching. If you haven't done so already, feel free to like, upvote, share, subscribe, follow, heart. You know the drill. Check out the links down below. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. Live long and prosper.